Hello, this is Original My Rule. I'm back with a little bit of a surprising one. I didn't expect these to show up today, but they did. These are the two collector's editions I got my hands on. Hoping to get the other two, at least to get one copy of each, but we'll see. So, Ruinous Powers and the Tyrannid Swarm. I actually really like a lot of stuff that's in the Tyrannid Swarm, and there is a card I just realized today I wanted for a deck that's in the Ruinous Powers, so it's actually perfect time that this showed up. I also got another Modern Horizons 2 Collector Booster, and I have some other random decks that I may or may not get to. We'll see. But let's get through this. I'm just going to go ahead and open this real quick. Oh. Jumping into things too fast. My stream seems to be being slow or something. Oh, no, they're okay. Just had to watch for it to catch up with me. Drossford Bridge. Deepwood Denizens, So Shiny. Battle Plan. Let's see. Junk Winder. Captain Ripley Vance. Another Marsh Flats. Phantasmal Dreadmaw. Obsidian Charmaw. Glimmer Baron, Abundant Harvest, Magmatic Sinkhole, Chainer, Force of Vigor, and a Treasure Bird. Alright. Okay. I'm going to start with the Ruinous Powers because I know I really want to go through the Swarmlord stuff. Box is shaped pretty much like the other one. We got our Surge foiled tokens, I guess. Ooh, okay, so even the counter is slightly shiny. Just barely, but a little bit. So everything's kind of foiled out here. Yep, including the box. That's nice. Okay, well, that might be... Oh, no, okay. So, unlike the Imperium deck, the Ruinous Powers just has mana symbols, even though they have a Ruinous Power logo. So I wonder if that's just something for the, Surge foil deck, or that they put the mana symbols, or is this actually like a weird pseudo typo thing? Keep this and punch this out later. versus Beyond. Is this actually like a poster? I might have to go find my other one then. Oh. Yep, it's got a demon on one side and Abaddon on the other. Yeah, I might actually have to keep those. I didn't know. Oh, that's interesting. The deck is slightly bent the other way. Or no, wait. Foils normally bend. Yeah, no, those are kind of pringly. But which is kind of sad. This means that this is probably the worst product lately that Wizards has put out. I mean, I meant foil-wise. The miscuts and stuff have been really bad lately. Oh god, these stink. Yep, oof. These are way worse than normal cards. God. I mean, for the rudeness powers, that's one thing, but damn, these things smell. Okay. So we got Abaddon. In his Surge foil. Let's see. Herald of Zeech, Bells and Lock. Here, I'll slightly go through these better. Marked of Chaos Attendant. During your turn, spells you cast from your hand with mana value X or less have Cascade, where X is the total amount of life your opponents have lost this turn. That's interesting. Herald of Zeech, Flying Cascade. That might actually have to go in my Cascade deck. I have a mode. What is it? A Moe? Cascade 6 or greater, or mana cost 6 or greater. Maybe, we'll see. Bells and Lock, the Dark Master enters the battlefield. You draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of demons you control. Lord of Torments, whenever another demon enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. Okay, so a fight. Like a Warstorm Surge effect for demons. Nurgle's Rot. Enchant creature opponent controls. When it dies, return Nurgle's Rot to its owner's hand. You create a 1/3 black demon creature token named Plaguebringer of Nurgle. So Nurgle's Rot's in effect. Blood Crusher of Corn. 3/3 for 4. Other creatures you control have trample. Trample, other creatures have trample. Okay. Chaos Terminator Lord. At the beginning of your at the beginning of combat on your turn, another creature you're controlled gains double strike until end of turn. Wondering if I'm a little quiet. Let's see if that works better. Makes me a little louder. Herald of Slaanesh. Herald of Slaanesh. Demon spells cost 2 less to cast. Other demons you control have haste. Yeah, that's pretty good. Noise Marine, the loudest of the bunch. 4 red Cascade, Sonic Blaster. When it enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn to any target. That could go in my new deck. Seeker of Slaanesh. Each opponent must attack with at least one creature each combat if able. Haste 3/3. Lost and Damned. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, or cast a spell anywhere other than your hand. You create a 3/3 red spawn token, creature token. Why a spawn? Don't you want to be creating like demons or something? Maybe it's too broken with demons. Bile Blight. Target creature and all other creatures with the same name as that creature get -3/-3 until end of turn. So it's another Echoing Decay or whatever it was from Old Mirrodin. Bituminous Blast, everyone knows that one. Assault Suit. The Ruinous Powers Soul Ring. Talisman of Creativity. Talisman of Dominance Surge Foil. Talisman of Indulgence Surge Foil. The Warren Power Stone, Surge Foil, I like that. Barren Moor, Crumbling Necropolis, Molten Slag Heap, Temple of the False God. Brainstorm, ooh, Dark Ritual. Deny Reality, Command Sphere, Wayfarer's Bauble, that's nice. Command Tower, that'll be nice. Dismal Backwater, Evolving Wilds, that'll be nice. Lord of Change, enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. 6 Flying Ward, 3 for 7. Interesting. Blight Grenade, destroy target creature. All creatures get -3/-3 until end of turn. Could wipe your own board with that one. The Great Unclean One. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 2 life. Then each opponent who has lost less life than you creates a 1/3 Plague Demon with Plague Bearer of Nurgle. Mandate of Abaddon. Destroy target creature you control. Destroy all creatures with power less than or equal to that power. Okay. Interesting. Mortarion Demon Primarch. Primarch of the Death Guard. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay X. If you do, create X 2/2 Black Astartes. Warrior creature tokens with menace. X can't be greater than the amount of life you've lost this turn. Okay. So Nurgle's about losing life. That's interesting. Nurgle's Conscription. Put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, then exile that player's graveyard. That's an interesting one. Plague Drone. Rotfly. If an opponent gains life, that player loses that much life instead. Yep. Poxwalkers. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, return Poxwalkers from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Interesting. Death Touch. Sloppy Bile Piper. 2 tap sack a creature. The next creature spell you cast this turn has Cascade. So that's what I kind of find interesting, is the spells that give Cascade. Let's see, what was this? Talisman of Nurgle, 7-fold chant. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card and you lose 1 life. If 7 or more creatures have died this turn, instead you draw 7 cards and lose 7 life. Yep. Venom Crawler, lifelink 2/2 demon artifact creature. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Venom Crawler. Yep. Pretty good. Or pretty standard. What was this? Aspiring Champion, 3/3 Astartes with Menace. When Aspiring Champion deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card, then put that card onto the battlefield and shuffle the rest of your library into the library. If that creature is a demon, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Interesting. Bloodthirster. Deals combat damage to a player. Untap it. After this, there's an additional combat step. Bloodthirster can't attack a player it has already attacked this turn. That's a fun mechanic. I think that will go in a very specific commander deck if I ever build it. Dark Apostle. The next non-creature spell you cast this turn has Cascade. Interesting. Keeper of Secrets. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, Keeper of Secrets deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to target opponent. Okay. Karn the Betrayer. Karn the Betrayer attacks or blocks each combat if able. Whenever you lose control of Karn the Betrayer, draw 2 cards. If damage would be dealt to Karn the Betrayer, prevent that damage, and an opponent of your choice gains control of it. Yeah, pass around Karn. Knight Rampager, artifact creature Knight, trample, 6/5. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose an opponent at random. Knight Rampager attacks that player this combat if able. When it dies, it deals 4 damage to target opponent chosen at random. That might go in my Knight Tribal deck, actually. That's kind of interesting. Let the Galaxy Burn. Cascade. Let the Galaxy Burn deals X plus 2 damage for each creature that didn't enter the battlefield this turn. Interesting. Blood for the Blood God. 8 black, red. Wow. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn. Discard your hand, then draw 8 cards. Blood for the Blood God deals 8 damage to each opponent. Exile it. Yep. Chaos Defiler. Artifact creature Demon Construct. 5/4 for 5 with trample. When it enters the battlefield or dies, each opponent chooses a non-land permanent that player controls. Destroy up to 1 of those at random. Okay, so everyone picks one and you get to choose what, or at random one gets destroyed. Okay. Chaos Mutation. Exile any number of target creatures controlled by different players. For each creature exiled this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card, puts that onto the battlefield, then puts the rest on the bottom of their library in any order. Okay, so it's was it Polymorph that used to do that? Change a creature out for the next creature. Drachnia. Legendary artifact equipment. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target creature. Equipped creature has menace and +X/+0, where X is the exiled creature's card's power. Interesting. Exalted Flamer of Zeech. 2/4 for 2 and red or blue and red. At the beginning of your upkeep, return instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. So, just like the devils that do that. Who? Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Interesting. Hellbrute, Astartes Dreadnought. So this is the black-red Dreadnought. Haste, you may cast it from your graveyard by exiling another creature card from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. Oh, kind of wish it was second creature in play. Horus Heresy. For each opponent gains control of up to 1 target non-legendary. For each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target non-legendary creature that player controls as long as Horus Heresy remains on the battlefield. Draw a card for each creature you control but don't own. Starting with you, each player chooses a creature. Destroy each of those creatures chosen this way. Okay. Kill, Maim, Burn. Destroy target artifact, destroy target creature, or deals 3 damage to a player. Lucius the Eternal. 5/3 Astartes Warrior with haste. When he dies, exile it, and then choose a random creature an opponent controls. When that creature leaves the battlefield, return Lucius from exile to the battlefield under its owner's control. Interesting. Magnus the Red. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less for each creature token you control. That could be really good. Whenever Magnus the Red deals combat damage to a player, create a 3/3 red spawn creature token. Moltha's Vortex Beast. Mutant Beast. When Vortex Beast enters the battlefield, flip a coin for each opponent you have. For each flip you win, draw a card. For each flip you lose, it deals 3 damage to that player. Okay. Pink Horror. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Pink Horror deals 2 damage to any target. Split when pink horror dies. Create 2/2/2 red and blue demon horror creatures named Blue Horror with whenever you cast an okay, so it just splits. The ruinous powers. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose an opponent at random, exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may play that card by spending mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. When you cast that spell this way, its owner loses life equal to its mana value. I mean, worst case, you exile the top card of their deck. Chazagor Shaman, Mutant Shaman, Sorcerer Elixir. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, copy the next instant or sorcery spell you cast this turn. When you cast it, you may choose new targets for the copies. Okay. Past in Flames, always a good card. Decree of Pain, interesting card for this deck. Blasphemous Act. Chaos Warp, Reverberate, all good cards. Warstorm Surge, Chromatic Lantern, Exotic Orchard, Ruins, Hollow, Cave, Path of Ancestry, Cliffs, Terramorphic. And then we got the Surge Foil lands. They look so good. Those I'll save for a deck. Amazon, the Despoiler Thick card. And then let's see. Oh, even the tokens are Surge Foiled. That's nice. So Plague Bearers of Nurgle. Oh, they're only Surge Foiled on one side. So what you get? 6 Plague Bearers of Nurgle and 4 spawns. You don't even get the blue horrors. That's sad. I would have rather they did like 2 of each. Okay. Yeah, the glue on this one's slightly stronger. Hive Mind Hungers. Yeah, I think that just must be a premium edition thing. Huh. Yeah, they put the premium edition has it. The flap doesn't have the symbol, but the bottom of the box does, whereas the regular version doesn't have it on the bottom of the box, but has it up on the flap. Nice looking Tyranid box. All the Tyranid tokens. Tyranid spin down or light counter. And we've got the what is this? This is the Gene Stealer Cultist. What was the Hive Tyrant? Yeah, this one's bent too, and it's probably gonna stink. I'm just going to go ahead and separate off the tokens. So we got the tokens in the thick card. Swarmlord. Tyrannid tokens. So they're all Tyrannid on one side. And there are various things on the other, but only the Tyrannid side is foiled. That's kind of sad. Get the lands out of the way. If my camera refocuses. Okay, there, it looks like it refocused. Okay, Tyrannid lands look pretty good. The Swarmlord, rapid regeneration. Enter the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters on it for each time you've cast your commander from the command zone. Whenever a creature you control with a counter on it dies, draw a card. Magus Lucia Kane. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Tap, add colorless when you cast your next spell with X in its mana cost, or activate an ability with X as an activation cost. Copy that spell or ability and choose new copies. I think I'm going to turn her into an X Spells Matter deck. Genestealer Locust. Whenever a creature attacks, it gets whenever a creature attacks you, it gets -1, -0. And whenever a creature attacks one of your opponents, it gets +0/+1. Okay. Acolyte Hybrid. Whenever it attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If an artifact is destroyed this way, its controller draws a card. Okay. Aberrant Ravenous. If this creature enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, if X is 5 or more, draw a card. Oh, it's just an X spell. Okay. Whenever Aberrant deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact or permanent that player controls. Enters the battle with 2 counters on it. Whenever it attacks, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from it. If you do, search your library for a basic line card, put it into play and shuffle. This makes the 3/3 tyrants. Trigon Prime. When Trigon Prime attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it and a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 other target attacking creature. That creature can't be blocked this turn. Venom Thrope. Flying Death Touch Hexproof. Kind of sad this doesn't have like flash. Goliath Truck. When Goliath Truck attacks, put 2 +1/+1 counters on another attacking creature. Prepared to. Other Eyes reprint. Inspiring Call. I believe this is also a reprint, isn't it? Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. Red for the Hunt. Might be a reprint. Whenever a creature you control with a +1/+1 on it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Hull Breach is definitely a reprint. Herald's Horn. Here's one of the major reprints. The Tyrannid Soul Ring looks really nice. Ash Barrens, Frontier Bivouac. Unclaimed Territory, Cultivate, Explore, Farseek, Harrow, New Horizons, Overgrowth, Rampant Growth, nice Arcane Signet, Cave of Temptation, Command Tower, Evolving Wilds. Here's the big one. This one's great for the Genestealer side. Genestealer Patriarch. When it attacks, put an infection counter on target creature defending player controls. Whenever a creature with an infection counter on it dies, you create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a Tyranid in addition to its other types. Exocrine, Ravenous, so it gets +1/+1 counters. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to each player and each other creature. So you can kill yourself with that one if you're not careful. The Red Terror, legendary Tyranid. Whenever a red source you control deals damage to one or more opponents and or players, put a +1/+1 counter on the Red Terror. Scream Killer, trample. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana 5 or greater, it deals 5 damage to any target. Biophagus, add 1 mana of any color. If this mana is spent to cast a creature spell, that creature enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. That's kind of one I like. Bone Sabers, whenever equipped creature attack, put 4 +1/+1 counters on it. That's another nice one. Broodlord, another Ravenous. When Broodlord enters the battlefield, distribute X +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures you control, which is also really nice. Clamavus, each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it gets +1/+1, or each other creature you control gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on it, which is nice. It makes +1/+1 counters even more effective. Hirschbex, whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Tap, remove X +1/+1 counters from it. Add X mana to your mana pool. That's pretty good. Biotitan, 12 for 12 with Vigilance, Reach, Ward 2, Fast Metabolism. In addition to cost, to play the spell, you may remove any number of +1/+1 counters from among creatures you control. This spell costs 2 less for each counter removed this way. Interesting. Biotitan can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Hormagaunt Horde, another Ravenous. Endless Swarm, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 2 and a green. If you do, return it from your graveyard to your hand. Lictor, when Lictor enters the battlefield, if it enters the battlefield under an opponent's if a creature enters the battlefield under opponent's control, this turn create a 3/3 Tyranid. Okay. Nexos, basic lands you control have tap for double colorless. Spend this mana only on X costs. Yeah, that's one I was excited to see. Old One Eye, trample. Other creatures you control have trample. When Old One Eye enters the battlefield, create a 5/5 green Tyranid creature token. Fast healing. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you may discard 2 cards. If you do, return Old One Eye from your graveyard to your hand. Sporocyst, XX Ravenous. Defender, Spore Chimney. When Sporocyst enters the battlefield, search your library for up to X basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. So really good land find. Termagant Swarm, another Ravenous. When it dies, create a number of 1/1 green Tyranid creature tokens equal to this creature's power. Okay. Terravgon, trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green Tyranids. Toxcrete, Death Touch, Reach. All lands have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and lose all other abilities. Yeah, because it says lose all other abilities. To yours and your opponents. Huh. Tyranid Guard. Sacrifice Tyranid Guard. Creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It's also got Ravenous. Attilan Jackal. Or Atalan Jackal, sorry. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. Death Sleeper, Terror Weapon. Tyranid, Haste, Flash, 3/3. Creatures you control that enter the battlefield this turn have double strike. The first Tyrannic War, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If its mana value contains X, it enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of lands you control. Double the number of each kind of counter on target creature you control. That's really good. Gargoyle Flock. Flying at the beginning of your end step. If a creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, create a Tyrannid Gargoyle. Starn Keldermorpher. Ward 2. Whenever another source you control deals exactly 1 damage to a permanent or player, this also does 2 damage to that permanent or player. Malanthrope. Flying 2/2. When Malanthrope enters the battlefield, exile target player's graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on for each creature exiled this way. Mawloc. Ravenous. Terror of the Deep. When Mawloc enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Raveneer. Ravenous. Flash. When it enters the battlefield, target creature attacks. When it enters the battlefield, target creature attacks target opponent this turn if able. Oh, you get to control and attack. Shadow in the Warp. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, Shadow in the Warp deals 2 damage to that player. Tyrannid Hardidan. Flying Ward 4. Whenever it or another Tyrannid you control deals combat damage to a player, create a Tyrannid Gargoyle. Tyrannid Prime, the one with Evolve. Other creatures you control have Evolve. I like this. This is in certain colors. I might put this in one of my decks. Winged Hive Tyrant. 4/4 flying haste for 5. Other creatures you control with counters on them have flying and haste. Pretty damn good. Zoanthrope. Ravenous flying Ward 2. Warp Blast. When it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to any target. Seems pretty good. Starstorm's a classic. Abundance. I'm pretty sure that's a reprint. Death's Presence, reprint, that's really good. Hardened Scales, good reprint. Icon of Ancestry, good tribal reprint. Cinderglade, Exotic Orchard, Game Trail, Temple of Abandon, Temple of Epiphany, Temple of Mystery, Opal Palace, Passive Ancestry, Rugged Highlands, Terramorphic Expanse, Thornwood Falls. Those seem pretty interesting. A little bit of a bend to them. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna cut it there for now. That's interesting. I will come back if I somehow get my hands on the other ones, or when my set of decks shows up. See you then.